Gamer Dude 2088, and today we're going to talk about TOT 70 for the month of September. This one was a really strong boss. It was a frustrating fight. I can say it took me quite a bit of time to complete it. It wasn't like 60 I kind of cleared, went back to try to make the video, and then it took a few times to get it. This one literally just took a few times for me to get through. So let's talk about the boss you're going to be facing and its mechanics. The Fire Colossus, Titan, whatever you want to call him. He has a passive. Immune to negative effects, stuns an enemy attacking this creature for one turn after receiving a critical attack. So if you crit him, yeah, he will stun you, which is crazy. Then his second skill attacks all enemies with an attack increase based on max HP, 50% chance of decreasing their speed, and 50% chance of decreasing their defense for 2 turns. And he will shut you down with this skill. It really hits hard. It really hits hard. When he does that, his AoE skill, it hits you like for an insane amount of DPS. So bringing units outside of water, you gotta be real worried, especially if you bring an attribute disadvantage. Hopefully you don't have to bring any units that's an attribute disadvantage going up against them. If you do, then you definitely need to be extremely tanky. And the first unit that comes to mind is Earth Cyclops, just because he has the immunity, because immunity is going to be critically important in this fight, at least from my perspective and my journey in this fight, and how I had to use my Fire Druid and strip my speed booster or attack bar booster. Had to strip him for 2 of his glyphs just to get her fast enough to be able to outspeed everything at about 170 speed. I think it was like 172 or something like that. So that's gonna be a big deal, because I was trying to do it, but the water jugs, which is one of the ads you got to deal with. So you're dealing with the water jugs, which has this crazy passive. If HP is 70% or above, protect self with the crystalline veil, bouncing incoming negative effects back onto the original caster. And that's what's going to really hurt you in the beginning, because in TOT, you're pretty much trying to use passive DPS to take things out, and AoE at that. So you're going to be having skills bounce back on you twice as much, and could cause you to kill yourself. This is why immunity is important in this fight. And then the second part of the skill set, if HP is below 70%, increases on crit chance and attack, which is not as bad. Once you get them down low, then it's going to be easy to CC them. But before you even get into any of that, and then let's look at the second skill. Attacks an enemy, preventing them from reviving upon death, and drains their HP for 3 turns, drains 100% of attack. So, I mean, I'm not using a reviver. You don't necessarily need a reviver, but he hits really hard, and that's going to be an issue. I think even having a defense buff or some kind of defensive buff in this fight is going to be beneficial. Probably important to have, just being able to mitigate as much damage that you take from it, because you really got to tank your way through this fight. But the biggest issue you're going to have besides all of the damage, is going to be that Fire Crusader. The Fire Crusader, with his passive, heals all other allies by 15% of all max HP and increases their defenses for 1 turn. So this is what's kind of like was hurting me in the beginning of the fight, was trying to CC one of them and then break down the other, because that's how you kind of got to do the fight. You have to take out the Crusaders first, then you got to take out the Juggernauts, and then from there you can just go ahead and auto through the boss, because at that point, if your team survived that far, you should be able to sustain enough to be able to auto the boss the rest of the way, because he's not going to do too much to you from there. But dealing with this unit and with what's his second skill? Attacks the enemy with the attack increase based on max HP and blind for 3 turns. So that blind can hurt you as well because you'll be missing attacks. So it's like CC one and burst down the other. You're probably going to try to burst them down at the same time. So the way I went about it in this fight, which you will see in the video, was to get my immunity up so I can cast all of my CC and my passive DPS, my parasites and my freezes from Sapphire and my faceless. But if I were to do it without having the immunity up, it would be they would still take the damage from them and get CC'd and take the parasites and the curse and all of that extra stuff that happens. But because of the Juggernaut's passive, they're gonna bounce that stuff back, which is gonna harm my units that's using those skills, and you don't want that. And I was trying to go a different route by just purely focusing them down, trying to use single target skills and everything, but I was having problems getting through the waves. The waves was taking a really long time. It just wasn't working out right. So I'm like, yo, I got to be able to use my team, my normal little team, and just kind of work around that, work around my normal little setup and just add in something that's going to help. And I'm like, the only option I have is immunity. So I tried my immunity out first, and then the immunity was, I could see that the immunity is what I was needing, but I just wasn't fast enough for it to be effective because the water jugs are pretty fast and they get to move. They hit for a whole bunch of damage. My unit's all messed up. I'm losing somebody before the fight even gets started. And I'm like, I can't have this happening. So definitely, like, I have no other answers for you if you don't have immunity for this fight. Like, honestly, I have nothing. And if you don't know by now, I really don't bring heal blocks, and I can see heal blocks being beneficial to some degree, but I mean, where will you fit a heal block in? I'm like, I don't know. See, I don't know, like a really good unit that will be able to synergize with the team that can bring a heal block and also either mitigate damage or bring in immunity. I'm not sure if there is. I mean, I could always look it up, but if you do know, then maybe so. But I think the best way is just to be able to get that CC, and you gotta strap up, man. It's a lot of diseases out there. You put them condoms on, man. Put them condoms on. You strap up with that immunity on you. You go in raw. You put the immunity on you, but then you go in raw on them, and you good. So they take it, in the poop shooter, and you just be like, yeah, man, y'all can't do that back to me. You don't bounce nothing back. I'm immune. Can't do none of that. But if you don't, in all seriousness, if you don't come with the right things, it's gonna be a really rough ride, and you're gonna hate your life in this fight. So I mean, this battle was definitely a long one, and like after you do, get yourself set up, have your CDRs. Like a CDR is a must. Is a must, and in my opinion, like, I don't know anybody that came to this fight, even the people that like showed off in the MMEG Discord, like they victories again and what they use, they all either had some kind of turn booster, CDR, and some really tanky units, and still ran like they typical parasite or poison DPS or whatever units that they had to dish out like little bits of damage, pretty much chip damage, because since you can't debuff the boss, you just gonna tickle it until it's down, and that's like the longest part of the fight. But the toughest part of the fight is the very beginning, just trying to break down through the defenses of those Crusaders. Because if you can get one CC'd relatively well, and Confuse really helped me in this fight, So I had one confused so they can mess up and heal my team, so I don't have to worry about the heals and attack themselves while I burst down the other and then kind of like take them down side by side, which was kind of helpful. And once I was able to do that, all I had to do was just focus and do all my direct damage on the I can do all my direct damage on the juggernauts and any of my units with their first skill that has some kind of debuff. I kind of like attack away or something like that until I get them down below that 70%. I thought it was 50, so I waited for a while before I started using like my third skills and everything. But once I got to that point and I broke them down, then it was like, yeah, that's game time. It's done. It's over. I can move on and we can finish off the boss. And then I lose a few units, but my support duel is like uncanny. Like that water tree and that WHS is just too OP together. So without further ado, here. Let's see. So throughout this fight, you would just see like kind of like where things was going and how frustrating it really was. sure he like it. He like to do his all bosses with his lady. Shit, just him and his girl. I don't know what it is. True be like, man, you gotta die. Biggest endurance fight of a lifetime. I guess I gotta get ready to do the rest of my video and then intro into my video. That fight took quite some time, really long time, but we tried so many variations, and I probably will have like some of the starts and my failures in the video, so you guys could know like I'm not just some OP person, or I have all of the answers. No, I have some answers, and there's things that I have to understand and overcome too, because it's not easy. This content wasn't meant to be easy, and trying to get further, because I still haven't completed TOT yet. So I'm looking to be able to complete no matter what month it is, no matter what the obstacles may be. So I'm steady testing and building and trying to improve my units to be able to do the things we need to do to win. So let's take a look at my units and their stats. All right. Generally my stats don't change too much or at all. I can improve my faceless. I got some. I had, I think, a glyph. I might have put it on something, but I had like I think it was a meditation glyph, a purple one that's better accuracy for down here. But I think I put it on my Kabir. I think that is the one that he has right now. Yeah, this glyph. Which I'm like, I might as well put it on him because the glyph I need to swap around is a defense glyph that will improve him, but it's currently on my imp. This glyph, which will be a major improvement. I will have more speed and accuracy. I have my faceless will be over 100 accuracy with those two glyphs, and his speed will increase some too. But I don't have a replacement for my imp, and he needs that for benefit because I run him in benefit. But besides that, you know, my standard little build. He's pretty tanky. He's good at taking a hit somewhat. You can see that it was real nasty, real crazy. I mean, I was trying my Mystic out a few times as my DPS, but she just wasn't working out. She's a little too squishy in comparison. I mean, she doesn't have quite enough HP. Her HP is okay, but not quite enough. And then her base defense is really low, so it's hard to get like good defense on her. And I mean, maybe if I had defense glyphs, that might help out, but not for the kind of build that I'm trying to go for her. So she wasn't the best unit for this fight when I was trying her. Of course, the ultimate duel, Tree and his lady, WHS, still rocking their same little stats and everything, just being able to keep protect each other, keep each other alive for the most part. Now, I'm not sure about everybody else on the team, but definitely able to keep each other alive for the most part in these fights. They don't really get into too much trouble. It was mostly my fire units that was running, and then I just 5-starred my Sapphire, so she's only level 18 right now, but her stats is pretty much the same of what they was when she was max level 30 as a 4-star, because she was just pretty low as far as defense and HP goes. She definitely needs some improvements on her glyphs just so I can get her better. Even in the accuracy area, I want to get that up higher. If we can get 100%, that'll be beautiful, so we can land more of those stuns. But she did a pretty good job for the most part. Wasn't able to hang it out at the end, but I was probably expecting it. When I walked away, I kind of figured she'd be dead. Just was hoping that my duel really wasn't going to go down, which they did. They did their job in that crazy ass endurance match. Now, the one that really did it, and it cost me about, let's say, 500,000 crystals, maybe a little less, maybe a couple 100,000 less, but it was pretty expensive, and that was to rebuild my fire druid, which now she's my fastest unit currently, and that was just for this fight at 172 speed, because I was trying to come in with the regular little setup I have, and it just wasn't working. I even tried my booster, but that didn't even happen. That wasn't happening either, and it was just, we were too slow. And this fight is like, the immunity is so important, because those damn pesky water jugs is just, oh my god. If you don't have immunity, man, good luck. I really don't even have an answer outside of having immunity in this fight, and then being able to outspeed everything. So, well, think about 160 something speed, maybe it'd be okay. I'm not sure. Probably 165, maybe at a base minimum. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really looked to see like what kind of speed underneath that. Actually, what is it? I said 165. Yeah, because he's 156, and the 150s wasn't enough. So probably close to 170. Probably about 170 is that benchmarker. So just to be able to really get there, and that was like rough. So I had to end up stripping my booster for 2 of his glyphs, because I still had something I leveled up in a box, so 2 of his glyphs had to come off for my fire druid, because normally I have her on an immunity set for when I'm doing arena or whatever. But I had to put her on 2 of his glyphs, which I believe is this one and that one, I believe. And this one I leveled up because it was sitting in my box. I was hoping for a speed roll. It didn't give it to me, but still turned out to be pretty decent. She still got some good stats out of it because I didn't want my boosters other square glyph. And reasons why is my booster, I don't care about what the main stats is, just the sub stats are important, which is mostly the speed, and I don't need a crit glyph. Not for a unit I need to survive, so I was able to manage and get decent enough speed for her to be able to outspeed everything, get us immunity up, and get the fight rolling the way it should be. I think that was the whole team. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that was the whole team. So it went through a lot of trial and error to get there. I think this is just one of those fights. If you're not fast enough, you just might not be able to make it. And then you gotta be tanky. Like, you gotta be able to take a punch. Especially if you got attribute disadvantage. You gotta be able to take a punch. Like 1,000 defense wasn't really even enough. Like that wasn't really enough. Since she has attribute advantage over the boss, I mean, that's relatively good. The water jugs is mostly focused on the fire units since they have attribute advantage over them. I mean, he's decently tanky, so he's able to survive to some. Well, she was able to survive to some degree, but still was taking hard hits. That's why my Mystic wasn't really working, because she just could not take a hit. Like, after that first hit, she needs to be healed. And even with her heals on top of it, it just wasn't enough. So she kept running into trouble. I think with the gist of it all, 70 was a real challenging, and I mean, it took me quite a few tries, and even once I got my strategy together, it still took me quite a few tries. I needed a little RNG on my side just to work, so I stuck with it. And you know, as frustrating as it was, I was trying to be as patient as I could possible, because when I realized I could win, it was like, all right, I just got to do it, make sure my units make it all the way to the boss with all their cooldowns ready, with all their skills ready, rather, and do what I gotta do. And came out to be something. So through it all in all, this was a really interesting fight. I hope this video will help some of you accomplish your goal and could clear 70. I mean, you really need some good stats. I would say 11k at a minimum defense. For survival reasons, probably about 16, 18k HP. I mean, I'm like, and my stats aren't that high, but definitely coming in with some stats like that just to be able to survive, and then having that immunity user at about 170 speed, those things are gonna be really helpful. I mean, you know, my normal base minimums, if not above, on accuracy with your with all of that, and you should definitely be fine as long as you know your basic little setup. And this is the Gamer Dude signing out. I hope this video helps some of you out there. And I'm out. Deuces.